Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Ryan, and today's video is another episode of our e-commerce mini-series here on the channel, where we are showing you how to build an e-commerce website start to finish. Now, if you've been following this series, a couple episodes ago, we created a custom product list page. And in the last episode, we had Itan from the WixWiz channel show you how to connect everything to the repeater using Velo. And in today's video, he's going to be showing you how to actually create the filters that will filter the repeater. So if you have not already, I'm going to leave the WixWiz's YouTube channel in the description below. Feel free to go subscribe to his channel and show him some support. But without further ado, enjoy the video.
So the first filter that we're going to set up is this category filter. It sometimes is called collections in different places, so just know that that's the same thing. Collections, categories, basically groups that organize your products, and you can access it through the dashboard as well. And in order to set up this filter, the first thing we're going to need to do is actually get the list of all the different categories or collections that we have inside of our Wix stores and display them here in this dropdown. So in order to do that, let's head back over to our handy dandy IDE, and I'm going to set up another function over here. So async function, and this is going to be a function that will populate categories dropdown. And the way we're going to do this is also using a Wix data query, but instead of querying the products collection, we're going to be querying the collections collection. And we're going to say const collections query result equals to await Wix data dot query. And here we're going to have collections, but it's stores / collections, if I'm not mistaken. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to actually look it up. And we're going to hit here dot find. And then I'm going to say const collections, which again, it's the same thing as categories. And I don't like the fact that we're using two different words for the same thing, especially in the code. But yeah, that's how it's set up. So we could decide to change the wording on the site itself, but that might confuse users because collections is a little less explicit than categories. So we're in a little bit of a pickle, a naming pickle. So const collections equals to collections query result dot items. And let's just go ahead and console that. Console.log collections and collections, because I want to show you what this data looks like inside before we actually start doing anything with it. So let's go back over here, and I'm going to head into preview mode. And again, I need to call this function, and this time I caught myself a little quicker, so let me call this function right over here. And so here we got the products, and it might take a second for it to refresh. Here are our collections, and you can see we have 7 different collections, and each collection has a name and it has an ID. Okay, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this name for the label of the option in the dropdown, and we're going to be using this ID as the value of the option in the dropdown. And in order to do that, we are going to give this dropdown a name. So instead of calling it dropdown 2, let's call it categories dropdown. So let's go page code, categories dropdown, and head back to our IDE. And then I'm going to select here categories dropdown dot options equals to collections, and we're going to map these collections to fit the format of the categories dropdown options. So that's going to be for each collection. We are going to return a label, which is going to be the collection.name, and we're going to return a value, which is going to be the collection.id. Took me a second to remember what I had said before. Okay. And now if we go over here into preview mode, what we should see is that this drop down here has all of our collections. Okay, so nothing is happening obviously as I switch between the different collections, and that's what we're going to do now. So if I go back here to the IDE, so we're going to create another function, and this is going to be also an asynchronous function. Handle, or we can call it handle category filter change. And this is, this is a function that is going to run when we change the option, when we change that dropdown, okay, with the categories. And what it's going to do essentially is it's going to get the ID of the collection. So we're going to say const collection ID equals to categories dropdown dot value. And then we're going to say that we want to run a query. So const products collection products query result, equals to await Wix data dot query. And again, we're going to be running a query very similar to this one over here. So I'm actually just going to copy it over. And usually when you're copying code in this way, it's an indication that your code is becoming not dry, so don't repeat yourself. And in the future, this is something that we will most likely refactor and extract more functions from in order to not repeat ourselves. But in the initial writing stage of the code, it is okay to repeat yourself as you're just kind of building out the logic of the application, because it's a little hard to work just directly writing dry code. So I'm just going to copy this over and paste it right over here. And the only difference in the query that we're running is that we're going to be adding a has some filter for the collections field. And again, to know which field here what the field name that you want to be using here is, you can go back over here to the code, databases, and then go here to stores and open up the products collection here. And you can see here that we have this, okay, collections. And that's essentially the link between the product and the collections. And that's what I'm using the has some for over here. And this is a multi-reference field, which essentially means it's a field with an array of all the IDs of the collections that this product is associated with. So what I can just do is say that has some collections and then put in this collection ID. So it'll only find products that belong to this collection. And we can also here console.log filtered products. And we have here products. And then we're going to assign these products back to the repeater. So I'm going to select the repeater. What was it called? Products repeater. Short-term memory loss. And, oh, yeah, I can actually just copy that line. So products repeater.data equals to products. And the last thing that we need to do is we need to run this function when we actually change the dropdown. So I'm going to set that up over here in the onReady. So categories dropdown dot on change. We're going to run that function, which was called handle category filter change. Handle category filter change. Okay. Now we're ready for some testing. So let me go back to our site and I'm going to go back into preview mode. Close that. Preview mode. We are finally in preview mode, and this is populating okay. And now let's try changing the category, and I'm going to open up the developer console just so we can see any messages that we're getting over here. So let's change the category to body scrubs. And you can see here that in the filtered products, it returned 2 products. Okay, and those are the same products that are being displayed here inside of the products repeater. Okay, and we can just try it again with another one. So lotions, and now it's showing me all the lotions. Nail polish, showing me nail polish. Okay, so that is how you would set up this kind of category dropdown. And if we go back to all products, then it is currently showing all the products. So now that we've set up the category filter, we can move ahead and set up the min price and max price filters. So what I've done is I've set up the choices. So you can see here, I've just given a few dollar amounts as the choices for the dropdown. And the important part here is that the actual value of these choices does not include the dollar symbol, and that's because we're going to be converting them into numbers. And except for that, all I've done is given IDs to both of these dropdowns. So this is the min price dropdown. That's the ID here inside of the code panel. So if I open up the page code, you can see that's the ID over here. And for the max price, it's the max price dropdown. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head into the IDE, and I'm going to create a new function. So this is also going to be an asynchronous function. And I'm going to call this function handle price range filter. And what this function is going to do, so first it'll get the values of those 2 dropdowns. So const min price will be equal to min price dropdown dot value. And I'm going to make sure to wrap this inside of a number, just to make sure that that's the correct data type for the query that we want to run, because the field of price inside of the products collection is a number type field. Next, we're going to do the same thing for max price. So let's just change this to max and this to max. Next, we're going to set up individual queries for each of these 2. And these queries are not queries that we're running yet. We're just setting up the query, and we're going to be running them later on. So const min price query equals to Wix data dot query. And here we have the stores, products, and this is going to be with a filter of greater or equal to. And basically this will give us back items that match the filter of this field, which is price, being greater or equal to the value which we provide, which will be the min price. And we're going to do the same thing, just opposite, for the max price. So this is going to be the max price query, and we're going to use less or equal to max price. And now I'm just going to set up the general query. So that's going to be the products query. And essentially that will just be this wixdata.query stores/products. Okay, so wixdata.query stores/products. Awesome. Now we're going to conditionally string together all of these queries based on if there is a value for min price and max price. So I'm going to say if min price, then we're going to say that products query equals to products query dot and is a way of combining different queries together in a restrictive manner. So that means that our query will have to match all of the queries and not just one of the queries, and not being inclusive in the sense that it can match this one or this one or this one. It has to match this one and this one and this one. So we're going to say products query dot and min price query. So it has to match both of those queries. And if there's a max price, then we are going to have a similar logic. So products query equals to products query dot and and we're going to add in here the max price query. So if we have a min price and a max price, then essentially we will be stringing all of these queries together. And the last thing we want to do is get the actual query result. So const products query result equals to await products query dot find. And then we can essentially do the same thing that we have here, which is say that our products should be equal to the products query result and assign those to the repeater. And so this is looking pretty good. The last thing that we're going to need to do is assign this to the onChange for our dropdowns. So let me select both of our dropdowns here. So min price dropdown and max price dropdown. And I know it shows there's an error here, but that sometimes, since this Wix Studio IDE is a little new, it shows errors in places where there aren't really errors. So this should work. If not, then we'll come back to the drawing board, but you should be able to select multiple items, multiple elements like this in this manner. And we can say on change, and we're going to run the handle price range filter. So that looks pretty good. So now let's try it out in preview mode. Head back to the editor, enter preview mode. And okay, so our products have loaded, and you can see here that we have products for $12.99, $7.99. So let's set the min price to 20. And now you can see that all of our products are above 20. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And if I set the max price to 50, then hopefully we'll see that, yeah, all of our products are between 20 and 50. Okay, so that's a basic way to set up the min price and max price. There's one more thing that I would like to do, which is to make all of our filters play nicely together. So at the moment, if you change one of the filters, so for example, if I select here all products, it will show me all the products, including the ones that don't match this current range that is set here for the for the price filters. And the same is true if I was to select here, for example, lotion. And, well, not lotion, that's not a good example. If I was to select body scrubs, so you can see here there are only 2 products, but then if I change this up to 70, then it brings back all the lotions and everything. So these aren't playing very well together, and I want to refactor our code so that all of our filters work in unison. So the way that we are going to make our different filters play nicely together is by declaring some global variables. So what I'm going to do over here is above our onReady, I'm going to declare a global variable for our products query. I'm going to declare a global variable for our category filter, and I'll declare a global variable for our price filter. And then what I'm going to do here, whoops, I panicked for a second because I saw my W was gone. Okay, so here we have our global variables. And basically, as we go through each of the filters, instead of doing it, running a query again within the specific function, we're going to run one general function which runs all of our queries and filters together. Okay, so let's set up that function. So I'm going to say async function get products. And what this get products function is going to do is it's going to say const products query result equals to await products query dot find. Okay, so this is going to be the end of the story. And before we run this, we're going to append these filters to our products query if those filters exist. Okay, so I'm going to say here, if category filter, then products query dot and category filter. And I'm going to say the same thing here for if price filter, then products query dot and price filter. And then what we're going to do here is say products query result equals to products query. And I'm going to add in one more thing, which is to say that if not products query, then we're going to say that products query equals to Wix data dot query stores / products. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And then we're running .find, and here we can then populate. Well, here what we could do is we can, for example, return products query result dot items. So essentially what this function does is it runs a query and it gets back the products that match either all or none of our filters, depending on if they're set. Okay, and then what I'm going to do over here, so let's start with our populate products repeater function. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of running the query here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const products equals to await get products. Okay, so that kind of made this a little simpler for us. And then what we can do here is, okay, so in populate categories dropdown, that will say the same, and handle category filter change. So here what we're going to do is we are going to say that const, and instead of running a query, what we're going to do is we're just going to define what this category filter is. So we're going to say that category filter equals to Wix data dot query store / products dot has some collections collection ID. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of this and then get rid of all this. And then all we have to do is say const products equals to await get products. And then we have to say, actually here, sorry. All we have to do is actually run the populate products repeater function. That would be the most dry option. So let me explain what's going on here. And hopefully if I run through the functions, then it will become clear. So for example, handle category filter change. So what we're doing is we're getting that collection ID. We're generating the filter. And then we're running this populate products repeater function, which essentially calls the get products function, which will conditionally create a query with this category filter that we just created if it exists. Okay, and the advantage here is that it will also add in the price filter if it exists. And the same is true for the price filter. So let's set up the price filter, and then hopefully that will be a little more clear. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say let. So instead of products query here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say price filter. And then we're going to say that price filter should be equal to this. And then here, all we have to do at the end is run populate, populate products repeater. Okay. And again, so this, if we already have a category set, when we run this, then it will run both our price filters and our categories filters. And this is something that this is scalable. So if you had additional filters that you wanted to add, all you would have to do is add those filters over here as global variables, and then append them here in your get products function conditionally. Okay, so let's take a look and see if that's actually working. So I'm going to go over here and go into preview mode. Okay, so our products have loaded. So now let's start by setting a category. So I'm going to set here body scrubs. And nothing happened. So that's already very interesting. So I did some peeking around and I managed to debug this. And the issue was that over here, I'm appending these filters to the query, but I'm not actually reassigning the value of this product's query before I send it and run the actual query. Similar to what we were doing before in the prices filter. So that's the bug over here. While I was looking at this, it also made me realize that perhaps declaring the products query as a global variable was a little redundant. So I'm going to do a little extra refactoring here. And instead of declaring this as a global variable over here, what I'm going to be doing is just defining the products query over here. So I'm going to say here, let products query. And we're always going to define it within this function. And I'm going to assign the values over here. And this will also help prevent another issue from happening, where if we were to assign this to the products query and it was a global variable, then essentially when we ran this function again, it would be appending multiple, let's say, category filter and price filters to that same exact query, and then eventually our code would break. So I think that this is currently the optimal way to do it. And obviously, just like everything else I'm showing you in this tutorial, there isn't only one way to do this. When it comes to code, there's usually multiple ways and not necessarily better or worse ways, just different ways of doing things. So don't take this as the only truth in terms of what I'm showing you in the tutorial, but kind of use it as a learning tool for understanding how these things work and thinking of solutions for yourself. So now that I have this set up, let's just check this out inside of our editor. So I'm going to go here into preview mode and let's take a look. So I'm going to select a category. So let's say body scrubs. And you can see here that both of these are under $50. So if I set the min price at $50, then these both disappear. So basically we're looking for also body scrubs and also over $50. And that doesn't exist, so we don't have any products here. But if I was to go ahead and change this, let's say to lotions, then what should happen is that we should see lotions above $50. Do we not have lotions above $50? I guess not. The lotions are very cheap. But you can see here that now we're displaying lotions in $20. And if I change this, let's say to nail polish, let's see. Oh, no nail polish under lotion. I don't know, body spray. What's expensive these days? Body spray. Let me go back to all products. Okay, and you can see here now that it's showing me all products over $20. And now it'll be all products over $50. So face powders are expensive, apparently. But basically, our filters are all working together. And this introduces the need for this extra little button that I added here, which is the option to clear all of our filters. So in order to set up the clear button, I'm going to create a new function, and I'm going to call it clear filters. And what we're going to do here first is I'm going to reset visually the values of the different drop downs. So we have the categories drop down, And we have the other two dropdowns as well. I'm just going to copy the names from up top here. If I can select them all. And put those down right here. Whoops. Why did it copy that whole thing? I just want this. And put that right over there. Awesome. And then I'm going to say dot value equals null. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the validity indication just in case it shows an error because one of these is required or something like that. Sometimes reset validity indication. Okay. And this will basically return the dropdowns to their original valid state if for some reason one of them turns red or something when we change it to null. And the next thing we're going to do is actually get rid of the values of our filters that are stored here in the global variables. So I'm going to say here, for example, category filter equals null. And I'm going to say price filter equals null. And we're going to run the populate products repeater. Now we just need to attach this to our button. So let me select the clear button, dot on click, and we're going to run the clear filters function. And now let's go back to our editor, head into preview mode, and do some testing. So if I go here and I select, for example, body scrubs, and then I go ahead and hit clear, then it displays all of our products again. And if I set, let's say, min price to 20, and I select lotions, and I hit clear, then it returns it to the original state. So that's how to set up a very basic clear button that can remove the different filters that we set up. So the last thing I'm going to be showing you how to do on this custom product page is how to set up this sort dropdown. And you can see here that we have several different options here. I'm not going to be showing all of them, but I'm going to show just how to do this price low to high and price high to low. And you can use those same principles to apply them to any other kind of sort that you would want to do. So essentially, when somebody picks one of these options from the dropdown, we're going to have to refine our query and add a filter that filters by, or sorry, not a filter, but actually a sort that sorts by ascending or descending based on a specific field. So let's first set it up in its own function. So I'm going to set up here async function handle sort. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is to get the value of the dropdown, of the sort dropdown. So I'm going to say here const sort by equals 2. And that's going to be equal to the sort dropdown, which I don't think that I named. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's call this sort dropdown. And then here sort dropdown and dot value. And now we have an issue because, well, not an issue, but something that we need to deal with. And that is the fact that this value is going to be, for example, low to high. So we need to take that low to high and translate that into what kind of sort we're going to be setting up. So I'm going to just use a basic switch statement in order to do that. So let's set up a switch, and the key will be sort by. And the value, for example, here will be low to high, and it needs to be 100% correct in terms of case. So let me just double check that, low to high. Okay, so in the case that we have low to high, we are going to define the filter, the sort in a specific way. So let me first declare a global variable here, not there, but global variable up here. So let's say let sort, and then we can say here that sort equals 2, and then we're going to have Wix data dot query, And we're going to have stores slash products. And it's going to be so low to high. So that will be ascending. And we're doing the price category, the price field. So I'm going to write here price. And then at the end here, what we'll do is we'll do populate products repeater. And we have to remember to set up this sort inside of our get products function as well. So here I'm going to add as if we have a sort, if sort, then products query equals to products query dot and sort. Okay, and we'll only be able to have one specific sort at a time. Okay, so if you change to a different form of sorting, then it'll change how it sorts. So format document. Awesome. And this should be enough to get us going. So we just need to add this to the on change for the sort dropdown. So let's select our sort dropdown dot on change, and we're gonna sort, what did I call it? Handle sort. Yeah, if you see my memory going bad like that, it means the tutorial is getting too long. So we're near the end. We're near the end. Okay, and that is that. So let's go over here and check it out. So I'm gonna go into preview mode. And let's first try it without any other filters. So I'm just going to select sort by price low to high. And I don't see anything happening, which is okay. So let me go here to edit site, and we'll add in a console log. Oh, oh no. That's unrelated. Those aren't real errors. Okay. So let's see, ascending price. Okay, let's add here console. Let's do two things. So I'm going to add in here console.log sort by. And also here, I'm going to add here console.log sort. And let's see if that does anything. So let's go back into preview mode. And change this to price. Okay, so low to high. Okay, so this is where the issue is, because you can see here that the entire sort by is price low to high and not just low to high. So I misread what it says here. So I'm going to change this in the manage choices. Whoa. Manage choices. Yeah, so you see here, I completely missed this price, that it says price there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I can just change this actually here. So I'm just going to change it to, say, price low to high. And then if we double check now inside of, we'll go into preview mode and change this to sort by price. Okay, so it did apply the sort because we did get into the switch. Why did it not actually sort though? That is a great question. Okay, so we're debugging. So we got to this point. So this is where the sort is applied, ascending by price. And we can get rid of this default. We don't need the default. Populate products repeater. If sort dot and sort. So maybe and can only work for filters. So that might be our problem. And in that case, what we'll need to do is we'll need to set up the sort logic over here directly. And what that will mean is that, okay. So let's change how we do this a little bit. So I'm going to create another function over here. Apply sort. And then this is going to have the sort by. This is going to have the sort by. And here we'll change this to say sort by. And then this will say sort by. And then this will run a function, which is apply sort. And it will take the products query and it will take the sort by. And this is going to return the products query. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run the switch here instead. So what we'll do here is get all this. And run it in here. And then we'll say that products query equals to that. Okay, so let me explain what I did. Let me first test and see if it works, and then I'll explain what I did. So let's go over here and wait for the code to compile. And awesome. So let's try this sort by now. So I'm going to take this, and it worked. Okay. So now it's showing the products from lowest to highest. And let me just explain. I'll explain again why it didn't work and why it's working now. So what I had tried to do is apply the same logic that I did for the filters by using this AND method, which can basically be used to combine filters, but it can't be used to combine other methods like ascending or descending, which are used for the sort. So instead, what I have to do is I have to apply the ascending and descending directly to the query. And I could have done that here within this function, but it was getting a little large already. So I created another function which will essentially apply the ascending or descending directly to the query based on the sort by that's assigned from the dropdown. Okay, and I'll highlight how this works by adding also the price high to low. So I'm going to go over here and add in that other case, format document, and this is going to be high to low. And it's instead of ascending price, it'll be descending price. Descending. And basically, so we're only adding one of these two to the products query. And then we're returning the original products query, which is used again over here. So let's take a look and see how that is working over here now. So let's let it reload. And so let's do, so now it's descending. Now it's ascending from lowest to highest. And if I change it here to price high to low, then it's descending. So now we have the highest cost, the highest priced item first, and then it keeps on getting lower and lower. And the last thing we would do is just add this to our clear function, which is here. So here we'd say sort by equals null, and we'd also clear our sort dropdown and add this over here as well. And let's just run a little test on that. And code is compiling. Okay, so let's say price low to high and then clear, and we're back to normal. Okay, so with that, that is going to conclude our custom product page functionality. Just to recap what we did, so we set up our products repeater by querying the products collection and displaying that data inside of a repeater. Then we went ahead and we set up different filters for categories and pricing. And lastly, we set up the ability to sort the items displayed based on certain criteria and how to clear all of these different filters and sorting. And there's still, I won't say a lot to be done, but there still is what to be done if you're building this kind of custom product storefront for yourself. And that would be, for example, to add some kind of loading state. So as the products are loading, you might want to display something else instead of kind of like a original view of the repeater. You might want to add in some pagination so that you can move backwards and forwards between the products if you have hundreds or thousands of products. And you might want to add in some error states as well. So if something isn't working correctly, then you might want to add that in as well. There's always more that can be done, more category filters that can be added, more sorting that can be added. But really the purpose here is to give you the building blocks, to give you the foundations and the thought processes, which can help you add whatever customizations that you need to your own Wix storefront. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe I'll see you again.
But that's basically going to wrap it up for today's video. If you all did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more Wix content coming out really soon. Also, be sure to subscribe to the WixWiz channel in the description below. But I just want to thank you all for watching again, and I will see y'all in the next one.